So we have moved into the realm of equanimity, fourth Brahmavihara that is so foundational and really brings a focus on wisdom and an alignment and acceptance of how things are. And the possibility of relating to that with unshakable balance, solidity, peace, steadiness. And I'm guessing that everyone here has had moments of really feeling equanimous. What has that been like? What has that felt like? Often feels really peaceful. And like all of the Brahmaviharas, equanimity is dynamic, it's relational and fluid. Christina Feldman puts it this way. She says, like kindness, compassion, and joy, equanimity is not a state, but describes a relational way of being with life that rests upon a profound understanding of the intrinsic nature of change, unpredictability, and non-self that is at the heart of all events and experience. Profound understanding of the intrinsic nature of life. And one piece to that I think is so core to equanimity is acceptance. And as I reflected on this talk, I was like, what is acceptance? What does it actually mean? It's really a layered process that I think doesn't get enough acknowledgement for how complex and hard it can be. We know that acceptance isn't usually just cognitive or intellectual, that really accepting how things are can include grief, anger, sadness, doubt, fear, overwhelm, confusion. And that there can be a way of inviting ourselves into that honors this is really hard. My sense is that in our culture, often there's an expectation that acceptance should just be easy, one and done, right? That happened, it's in the past, let it go. Don't worry about what's going to happen, get over it. It is what it is. There are a lot of ways that we could even say some of those same things to ourselves, but with so much more interest and kindness. And in Buddhism, there are many core daily practices that focus on accepting and understanding at that deep level how life is. As David mentioned, the three characteristics of existence: impermanence, suffering, and no separate self. Practices that help us accept that we will all age, sicken, and die. There are monks who have spent and continue to spend their entire lives every day engaging in practices that orient to that kind of acceptance, getting it fully into their bones and cells. Often we can worry that accepting things may mean that we are condoning them or agreeing with them. And my sense is that in equanimity practice, it really doesn't mean that. That it's more about setting down the ways we fight against or deny how things are. Really stopping that internal war. Aligning with and admitting how things are, what actually is. And we can struggle with that in a whole range of ways, in connecting to the past, right? Accepting the past, ways that we don't know what the future may bring, losses, gains, inequities, pain. And we know that we learn and really kind of deepen our connection to the Brahmaviharas, not by having them just be here perfectly, but really seeing the places where we struggle to access them. And with acceptance, with that layer of equanimity, it feels really important to begin to turn toward and notice our resistance to accepting how things are and how life is. Joseph Goldstein often teaches that anytime we notice any tension in the mind, in the body, in the heart, it often is an indication that we're not accepting something. And I have found that a really helpful cue for me, that when I notice tension, it indicates I'm fighting or resisting something, not allowing, not accepting. And it's really impossible to be equanimous when that's the case. And I would add that for some of us, it may not show up as tension. It may show up more for you as a checking out or a kind of distancing or dissociation. And so noticing both as they show up energetically can point us to ways that we're not accepting or connecting to how things are. And we can see resistance within ourselves or toward ourselves personally. We can see how it shows up in our relationships with others. We can see how it shows up culturally, socially, and politically. And I kind of experienced or connected with resistance in a way I hadn't expected on a retreat that was focused on equanimity. And we were invited to work with the phrase, things are as they are. So very much pointed to acceptance. And as I was practicing with it, what kept showing up was just a no. Like every time I dropped in, things are as they are, my whole body mind just said no. And I watched it with some humor and some fascination, but also like, wow, this is so deep. It's so embedded and almost primal. And it was completely decontextualized. There was nothing it was about. It wasn't, no, I won't grow older. No, the people I love won't die. No, there's no global warming. It was just pure resistance. And I'm still come up against that. And it's really helpful in my path toward understanding and developing equanimity. The ways I fight and push against things and the embodied experience of that. And we come up against this, just not wanting to accept. Christina Feldman also says, we learn that our insistence that life, other people, or ourselves be other than they are has the immediate effect of intensifying the tangle. The tangle, I think this is the tension that Joseph Goldstein talks about. So we really have to get to know that resistance and how it creates that tangle and that tension. Because in order to be connected with life, fully open, wholeheartedly, wisely, and in order to take action, acceptance feels really fundamental. And as David mentioned, it's why I think acceptance is often a part of recovery processes. He shared the quote, "This too shall pass." And I had thought about the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And if we don't like the word God, certainly we could change it to may I have the serenity May I have the courage. May I have the wisdom. James Baldwin said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." And here again, the importance of facing, accepting, being with things, how they are. So I really invite us all to be curious about the ways that we say no, the ways that we resist or refuse to accept how things are, and how that shows up in our bodies, in our minds, in our hearts, and in our lives, and how we can really make room for it and not judge it. Because that resistance is important. It's really trying to protect us. We know that it's really difficult to be with life as it is. And so we're going to armor, we're going to fight it and deny and dissociate in all the ways that we've learned to not really be with things or connect. And remembering that it's ongoing, alive, a process, because I might accept something very deeply, right? Really say, be willing to connect with the pain in my back. And maybe a few moments of absolute acceptance and equanimity with that. And then 2 minutes later, I'm fighting it. And there's no more equanimity. So it's not that we accept something and we're done. It's really ongoing and moment to moment. And also the importance of not identifying with the resistance when it shows up, that it's not me or mine. It's just our system's protection. And it really deserves care and patience and honoring, because it's our doorway to equanimity. So as we move into this, begin to consider, you may already know, what do you struggle to accept? Perhaps it's a loss or illness or a pain in your body or the way a person you love behaves. Maybe how the world is, the injustices, destruction, violence. Perhaps it's not knowing how or when you may die, or how the people you love may die, or when that might happen. And we can start with the small things. We can start in small ways, which we always do as we practice the Brahma Viharas. So maybe it's breathing with a no that comes up when it's raining on a day you want to be outside. Something really simple. So we notice where we struggle and see if we can turn toward that with some curiosity and care and kindness. So thanks so much for your attention. And let's really gradually transition to formal practice. As always, we can turn first toward these bodies and see what they need. What movements, what stretches. Maybe reconnecting to the breath and inviting a couple deeper than usual in-breaths and out-breaths. And maybe see if the belly and the lower back can soften, can receive the supporting, softening quality of the breath. In the back of the heart, inviting some space there, softening. Maybe the neck and shoulders. See if any tightness or tension that's there maybe can flow down, down the arms, out the fingers. And allow the hands to rest. Maybe on the lap, facing down or facing up. And see what can be set down as you settle into the practice. We can really let go to gravity and allow ourselves to feel supported by the earth. Perhaps seeing if it's possible to release any effort to control the breath. Just trusting that it can move at its own rhythm. Gradually settling into a bit more quiet and stillness. And if you like, as you practice today, you might bring some gentle awareness to moments where you really notice tension or resistance in any form. Seeing if you can receive the energy and texture of how that shows up for you. Breathe with that. Very gently, in moments, inviting and orienting to accepting how the moment is, how the body is, how the mind may be. And perhaps notice how things are right now. Bringing yourself kindly back whenever needed, back to the breath or to sounds, the body, sitting. And see if there are ways that your system is saying no or in a tangle, tension, or checking out. We can see how we relate to that when it happens. And is it possible to appreciate and celebrate the noticing? Turn toward our tangles with care, with interest. And whenever we need stabilizing the attention on the breath, maybe gentle phrases. May I accept, be with this moment as it is.